Blake Giles.
I'm Jim Harbin.
It's Sidelines.
And Headlines.
And we're coming down to the very end of the college football season. Only one game left. And who would have ever foreseen the matchup that we've got?
A lot of people lost a lot of money betting on who was going to be in the final.
I'm wondering if you go back and look at the beginning of the season of those odds that they had.
That's what I'm saying, yeah.
Who was going to win. Miami might have had decent low ball odds. They were expected to be a good team, but I looked up, Indiana was ranked number 20 in the preseason poll.
They thought they were a one-hit wonder.
One-year wonder, that's right. So, boy, I tell you what, we've seen them play now in 2 playoff games. They've looked impressive.
Yeah, it's going to be kind of sad for them if they somehow lose. You know, college football for so long was 12 games. I mean, they've won 15 in a row. If Miami somehow, it's almost like they ought to stop the season now, as good as they've been, and just say they're national champs. But
if they lose, would they consider it a failure of the season?
I don't know, but I don't think they're going to lose.
I don't either.
I didn't think Miami. I'm surprised that Miami's in the final. I'm not really surprised that they beat Ole Miss, but yeah. I'm still. I don't.
Well,
I hadn't been a believer.
How much did you look at Indiana during the regular season?
No, I mean, we don't. If you're like me,
I don't watch
down
Big Ten football.
No,
it's not that. I mean, I'm just more interested in the Southeastern Conference, and so I didn't see much of them. So when the first game I really watched them was against Alabama. Wow! I mean, they just blew the Tide away, and then the Oregon game, regular season, close game. It was almost over the first play.
Yeah.
At pick 6.
And and Oregon tried to challenge them a little bit. And it's like Indiana's not, sometimes, a team that hadn't been great and doesn't have it in their DNA, maybe you think they're not going to, but they don't care. They're not scared of anybody, the way they play. I mean,
and they don't seem to have any glaring weaknesses anywhere on the team. I mean, it's not like, they don't have a running game, they don't have a passing game. It's not like they have any superstars. They just don't have any weaknesses. They're just good all around. And boy, the way they blew away. I thought about it at the halftime of that Oregon game. I went back to the Georgia TCU national championship game and thinking, that's what this is like. I mean, wound up being 65-7 or whatever it was, and that's what it was like. And that game was over with at halftime.
But if you watch the game, every time in the flow of the game, if it looked like somebody's going to challenge them, they just step it up. They don't flinch.
And Oregon certainly was their own worst enemy.
Oh, yeah.
Golly. Throwing that pick 6, the first play.
Momentum.
And then the quarterback bumping his football against the helmet of his teammate to drop it. Just weird stuff like that. Well, and Indiana doesn't need him.
No. What was your take on for some reason I watched the Ole Miss Miami game more intensely than I watched.
Did too.
And it was a good game. It was an entertaining game.
Yeah.
But what did you think about that one?
Well, I thought that Trinidad Shambliss did not have the game of his life like he did against Georgia. He played well, but not the game of his life. Maybe Ole Miss got a bad call or two from the officials, but I just think that maybe they ran out of gas. It was a long season for those guys, and they were, of course, the same thing for Miami. They didn't have a bye the first round either, so they're both in the same boat. And I just was really impressed with the way that Miami just kept coming back, their resiliency. And Carson Beck played a very effective, mistake-free game. Did he throw an interception? I think he may have been one interception. I can't remember. But, boy, you could see the joy on his face on that touchdown when he scored at the end of the game and high-stepping it into the end zone. It was just that's a run he'll never forget for the rest of his life.
Well, how do you think the Georgia, if they were to get it done against Indiana, what will the Georgia? It seemed like to me that a lot of Georgia people kind of got their feelings hurt. They didn't think a high-profile guy like that could ever leave Georgia and go somewhere else. And Georgia really hadn't had a lot of guys that gone other places.
And he's a guy. I think there's a real division of how people have responded to Carson Beck. There are some people that hold nothing but ill will for him. They think if he'd have gone pro, that'd have been one thing. But to leave and go to another school after being the starter for 2 years at a premier program like Georgia.
That's what I'm saying.
Come on, man. Don't thumb your nose at us. But I don't have anything against the guy. I'm fine with it. And I think he's played well enough this year, obviously. He's completed, I think, 73% of his passes, which his last year at Georgia he completed 65%. Hey, that's nothing to sneeze at, 65%. Remember all those receivers at Georgia that were dropping the football?
Yep.
So
right.
Maybe he hadn't had that this year. So here we are, Miami against Indiana, the second losingest college football program of all time, trying to win its first national championship. Miami won 2002?
2001 or 2, I think.
That's
the last
one.
one.
They won.
But they've won 6 or 7, haven't they?
I was thinking it was more like 4 or 5. I don't know.
Maybe so.
Schnellenberger won 1 or 2. Jimmy Johnson won 1 or 2.
You're right. This may only, if they win, would be their 5th or 6th.
I think so. Yeah, something in that range. All right. So Indiana's an 8.5-point favorite. Look that up. What's your take?
I couldn't bet against Indiana. Just a little bit. I've seen them. I'm kind of like you. I hadn't watched them close all year. I don't feel like I'm entitled to talk very much about them. I feel like I actually know a little bit more about Miami, but I'm almost going to feel sorry for Indiana for some weird reason they lose, because they deserve already. I think they've had a season where they almost need to be. Miami's got 2 losses.
Yeah. And, one of these years though, we're going to come up to this point where we get to the end of a 16-team playoff. That seems to be where we're headed.
Right.
And you're going to get 2 unbeaten teams that gets us all the way to the finals. That's going to happen one of these years, I think. But I think Indiana's going to win. I personally would like to see Miami win. I just would. I'm not in love with Indiana. I don't hate Indiana, but I just prefer Miami win the football game. I'm kind of pulling for them. Now Chris Hanna's going to be sorry to hear that, because in the Rotary contest, if Indiana wins, it's between her and.
Oh, that's right. Yeah.
That she could possibly win the contest,
Well, this is kind of a big picture thing I was thinking about. We've talked about this all year with the whole Kurt Cignetti thing at Indiana. For years, people talked about Saban being such a great recruiter, evaluator of talent, and back in those days, before the transfer portal, it was more of a developmental. You evaluated a high school guy based on what you could turn him into over a 2 or 3 year period. Kirby took that same formula, was doing the same thing at Georgia. Is that a different deal completely than what Cignetti did and what Lane Kiffin has done? Evaluating not what a guy can do for me not what a high school kid can do for me 3 years from now, but what can a guy that's already in college do for me next year?
I think it's totally different, and I think it's been the key to their success. I think I read the average age of the team is 23 years old.
Yeah.
So you think about 18-year-olds graduate from high school and the kind of physical and mental changes that happen in their bodies between 18 and say 23, 24 years old. It's a tremendous amount of growth, and of course they get stronger and more physical, and their brain functions better, and they think clearer. And so he's dealing with guys that are just much more mature.
I heard the comment, Cignetti's got a 6th sense at evaluating talent. But it's different. Like we joked about last week, why didn't anybody know, any of these great, a Kirby Smart or a whoever, figure out that Trinidad Chambliss was a great quarterback coming out of high school?
Well, what about Fernando Mendoza?
Yeah,
you saw him before.
That's right.
Auburn played Fernando Mendoza when he was at California. What was your impression of him then?
I remember they beat Auburn.
Yep, they did.
But
now, Mendoza also lost to Miami while he was at California, 39-38 last year.
Really? I guess I'd heard that.
He was 11 for 22 and 285 yards, 285 on 11 completions. He must have hit some big plays. That's a lot of yards. 2 touchdowns, 1 interception. So I mean, the guy obviously had a Heisman Trophy season, and I didn't know anything about him really. I know Georgia recruited him when he transferred from California, but I've been really impressed with just the kind of young man he is. He's a very well-spoken person, and he's very gracious in victory and doesn't rub it in your nose, and like a lot of things to like about him.
There he is. That's one of the reasons I think people are cheering for them.
Yeah.
Maybe, Carson Beck, he's got all the tattoos, kind of got the bad boy little thing going on. Mendoza's the schoolboy a little bit.
Yeah, that's true. Well, is the way that Cignetti built his roster, is that the way of the future?
I think so. I mean, we've talked about this. When Georgia won those 2 titles back to back, a lot of those years when Saban won, it was a direct result of high school recruiting and developing the guys. By the time they kicked the ball off and the game started, they were better than their opponent. They should have won.
Yeah.
In Georgia, a lot of people would say now, Georgia had better, offensive and defensive coordinators then. Everybody likes to get on Bobo and whatever, but it's just, I still think it's just totally different. And I've heard Saban talk about it. He sort of admitted it. It'd be a different world if he was still coaching. I mean, especially a guy like him or Kirby, if you're a defensive guy and you're out there coaching in today's football and you got a team that can match you talent-wise or is better, and they got a great quarterback, I mean, there's not much you're doing to combat that on game day.
Well, one of the things I've read about Indiana is that their defense seldom makes mistakes. And in college football, mistakes is what leads to the big plays. And they're so savvy and so tuned in mentally. They're always lined up right. They run their assignments right. They're seldom out of position. And that's another factor of the way he's built his roster, by bringing in guys who've got a lot of experience. He doesn't have a lot of 5-stars on his team. He's got a lot of guys who are maybe 3-stars, but now they've grown and matured. And now if you were to re-rank recruiting classes, that kind of thing, they do that from time to time. These guys would maybe be up at the top of the list.
I have to bring in my Presbyterian College example. I saw this week, they had a guy named, who Justin Bethel is?
I do not.
He was a defensive back, went to PC, didn't play high school football until he was a senior. Some NFL coach saw him working out, doing box jumps. I mean, the guy had a vertical leap like Michael Jordan. Anyway, he gets some, one thing leads to another. All of a sudden, he has a 10-year NFL career, and he just retired. But, you think about talent evaluation, and all these guys, when they play the Super Bowl in a few weeks, they'll show, and they'll do it in the playoffs, where the colleges the guys come from. A lot of them come from.
Where are they going to show? I mean, obviously Mendoza, they're going to say he's an Indiana
guy. That's a good point. But these guys have been to 4 schools.
Do they call him an Alabama guy?
That's a good question. I don't know how they do that.
There's so many guys now. They're transferring every year, it seems like. So.
But your point, the kids are different when they're 22 than they're 18. They develop and totally different.
Yeah. Well, I was looking up, what's going on in the portal so far this year, and I was looking to see who's had to make motions and this kind of stuff. Looking at the most active school in the country in the portal. You got any idea who it could be?
I think I read it, but I can't remember.
Oklahoma State. They had 63 players leave, and they brought in 42. That's like a totally different roster.
And a coaching change, obviously.
Obviously, that's a factor. Iowa State was next, and of course, their coach went to Penn State and took a lot, and Penn State's third. So that accounts for a lot of it. Players following their coaches to their new school. But it's not exclusive that way. For example, Texas lost 26 players in the portal this year. That's a lot of players.
It really is.
I mean, that's a fourth of your roster. It was interesting. Arkansas, who changed coaches, lost 36. Auburn lost 36. Let's see who else changed coaches. Ole Miss lost only 18, changing coaches. I noticed one Ole Miss got a tackle who transferred from LSU to Ole Miss.
I saw that. Did you see where, and it wasn't just me because I'm an Auburn guy, a lot of people were saying that Cam Coleman was one of the top players and he's going to Texas.
Going to Texas, that's right.
$3 million or something?
Well, what I'm reading is they figure we got Arch Manning one more year.
Yep.
We're going to try to give him the kind of roster that he can win with and give him the skill players. Now, what I have read they have not done yet is beef up their offensive line, which was a problem with their roster this year. They had a tough time protecting him. Georgia has only lost 15 players in the portal. That's the lowest in the SEC. Vanderbilt is next at 16. So I don't know what it is, if Georgia's doing something different to keep more of their players, but they lost 15. So far they've only brought in 7.
Well, I think what it is, what we were talking about, they got stability, they got a little culture, they still win most of the battles on the high school recruiting. And I think Kirby's still able to convince some of those guys, yeah, you can go and you might play sooner, but stay with me an extra year and you'll maybe be even better and have a better chance to go to the NFL.
Yeah.
I mean, I think there's at least a little bit of that going on at Georgia and probably Ohio State and some other places.
Now, here's one that surprises me a little bit, and that is LSU has had 35 players transfer out, and they've had 28 transfer in. Now, is this people that Lane Kiffin comes in and says, I think you need to go somewhere else? Or is this people that say, I don't want to play for the guy? We don't know.
Probably a little both.
Yeah.
I read something today, and I got so sick of hearing about Lane Kiffin, I kind of quit following it. But they were saying what a great class he had in the people in the portal. But
yeah, I don't know. I was looking at some of the top guys that came in. He got the #1 player supposedly, Arizona State quarterback Sam Levin. But they also got didn't they get another quarterback that came in? Let's see. Hassan Longstreet from Southern Cal, who has not played yet.
Yeah,
he was a 5-star out of high school, and he's coming to LSU.
Speaking of Southern Cal, didn't they shake it up a lot in the portal?
Well, Georgia's got a guy coming in from Southern Cal this year. Again, it's their cornerback, Braylon Conley. We got the Branch brothers last year, so he's coming in this year. Georgia's got 7 people coming in right now. Here they are. They got wide receiver Isaiah Cannon from Georgia Tech, who was a good receiver. Running back Dante Dowdell of Kentucky. Now, I don't really remember much about how he did. Then we got 4 defensive backs. Safety Jamarly Riddle from East Carolina. Cornerback Gentry Williams of Oklahoma. I mentioned Braylon Conley of Southern Cal. And then coming back home, so to speak, safety Khalil Barnes from Clemson, who played at North Oconee High School. And then they have one other from Auburn, edge, Amari Williams.
My son was all upset that he left Auburn and came to Georgia.
Yeah. And then here's who they've had go out. Offensive tackle Jamal Merriweather, cornerback Dominic Kelly, edge Elo Mendoza, safety Adrian Maddox, who went to Kansas State, cornerback Andre Evans to North Carolina State. Now, this guy's going to play here, safety Janelle Aguero, who went to Ole Miss. He started most of the year at Georgia.
Oh, yeah.
But he got hurt late, and the way that Rashawn Dinkins played, I think he might have seen the handwriting on the wall, and he's going to Ole Miss. He'll play at Ole Miss. Offensive tackle Bo Hewley's going out to Dion for Colorado. Safety Jaden Harris to Kansas. Linebacker Chris Jones to Boston College. Linebacker Kelton Smith to Georgia State. Defensive lineman Jordan Thomas to South Carolina. And then 4 players not found home yet. Offensive tackle Nair Daniels, running back Roderick Robinson II, tight end Pierce Spurlin III, and cornerback Daniel Harris. Now Spurlin's a guy who was medically disqualified and then was reevaluated and said cleared to play. So he's never really played at Georgia. And in the meantime, Georgia's loaded up at tight end room as they have typically. And I think he decided I'm going to go somewhere else I can play. So that's the way it looks. right now. It's still a lot of stuff to shake out. The season's technically not over yet, and I guess the window has closed to enter the portal. But obviously, that doesn't. You don't have to actually be in the portal to transfer. I mean, you can just transfer without that happening. So that's the way it's shaking out. Now, we had some interesting headlines. Speaking of sidelines and headlines, the way that Washington quarterback negotiated a contract with Washington, signed a deal, 2 days later says, I'm transferring. How does that happen? That's a good question.
I mean, there's got to be an adult in the room somewhere that.
Well, I heard his agent quit.
Well, that's yeah.
And after he decided to go back to Washington. So maybe the agent had worked out a really sweet deal somewhere.
Yeah, I'm sure. That's what I meant by the agent. I mean, you can't. You don't hear about stuff like that happening in the NFL.
Yeah.
They don't have transfers.
All right, here's another headline that came out this week, and I don't fully understand it. But did you see where Jerry Moorhead from the Southeastern Conference came out and said, if the colleges, administrators, the College Football Association, and college, whatever the administrative office is not the NCAA, if they're not going to enforce the House settlement regarding payments to players, then we're going to make up our own rules and enforce them. So there's a lot of pushback going on about how all this is going to shake out.
What is that? You know, for years I've always heard the NCAA is not, they're not a rogue organization, but they don't enforce their own rules, they don't do the right thing. I mean, is that what, and then when I hear people say, you know, that's not even going to exist in a few years and we're going to have a totally different association or whatever. Is that what he's sort of referring to? We'll do our own thing?
It could well lead to that. I think what there's still so much fractured between the colleges. What we've seen, of course, talking portal, NIL, it's a level the playing field. That's why Indiana can be in the championship. Without the portal and NIL money, Indiana would still be bottom of the barrel, even with Kurt Signetti. He would not have been able to make this kind of rapid change. Now, maybe over 3 or 4 years, he could have turned them around in the old way. So now you've got every other school out there thinks, man, if we just invest enough money, we can win a championship.
Yep.
And so the lure of a championship is so great. I wonder if they're saying, you know, we're going to see if we can spend more than $20.5 million somehow. I don't know. And of course, players are free to work out their own deals, but it's supposed to go through some kind of clearinghouse to say, okay, this is not legit. This is something I'm just giving you money.
Yeah, I saw that if it's over $600, it's supposed to go through the clearinghouse.
Think how many college football players are there?
That's what I'm saying.
Who can manage a clearinghouse like that? So it's a wild, wild west, and it may be the new normal. It just may be. I don't think Congress is going to come to the rescue. The NCAA has lost all control. Eventually, it looks like it may shake out. We're going to get a Super 64 or something like that.
I think it. I don't know how we get there, but I think that's how it is. If I was a Georgia guy, I mean, it's bad if you're a Georgia fan. You're like, darn, right when we had it rolling, we thought Kirby was going to be the next Saban and we were going to win 6 or 7 national championships, and they pulled the rug out from under our. And that, from that standpoint, you can, spin it negatively. But I still think there's an element of the rich get richer. Georgia's got money. They got great coaches. They got a great culture. They got great high school recruiting. I mean, there's a level that if they can just keep doing what they're doing, they're going to be right there. And eventually
they've established a very high floor.
Yeah.
That right now they're not going to sink below that floor. And right now, that floor is being in the SEC championship and playing for that championship and getting into the playoffs.
Yeah, if you get there enough, you're going to have a chance to win.
Exactly.
It's just going to look different than it did before. You're not playing bully ball and just winning because you're.
Well, you look back at this season, how many close games there were for Georgia. I mean, I was reading today about, of course, that Tennessee game when the guy missed the field goal. What if he makes that field goal? reverse the seasons for both of those teams.
Absolutely.
And it just came down to one kick, and the guy missed it. What if the guy at Notre Dame makes the extra point? Maybe Notre Dame's in the finals now instead of Miami.
Oh, you know, there's a ton of Tennessee fans saying just what you said. I mean, they're so frustrated because they can't beat Georgia, they can't get over that hump. And if that one play would have been different, it might have been.
See, what did Tennessee? Tennessee had 27 transfer out and 11
which was
transfer in.
which was a little bit. I thought I was surprised.
Yeah. Maybe somebody jumping ship. I don't know. Who's going to be the quarterback up there next year?
No, I don't think they know.
I don't think they do either. I'm not sure. Have they brought one in? I don't know.
Well, I read something today about they were trying to do something with somebody. I forget who it was, but
yeah. Well, it's a new world for college football, and it's going to come to its conclusion Monday night when Indiana and Miami play, and I'm looking forward to the game. I hope it's a good game. I mean, it's the playoffs so far this year. There's been maybe 4 or 5 really good games, really competitive games, and then there's been 4 or 5 just stinkers. So
I think it'll be a decent game. Is what my gut. I mean, I don't think Indiana's going to blow them out. Certainly don't think Miami's going to.
If anybody blows anybody out, it will be Indiana.
It'll be, right.
And more power to them if they do it. And it will be a new day in college football for the. Hoosiers will no longer be a great movie.
That's right. We have a sequel.
It will be a football powerhouse. Oh boy. Well, you said you had some high school surprises for me.
Well, we talked a little bit before we started. We kind of went through the drama of the Gainesville High School, the fight, the suspending the players, the reinstating, the appeal. They go all the way to the state championship game and lose pretty decisively. But it's a great year when you go to the championship game. Well, their coach leaves, goes to Colorado with Dion. And then this week, I guess the next game they played after the game with the controversy against Rome, they played an ineligible player, and so they had to forfeit the game. So technically, I don't know how that works, but they're not state runner-ups anymore.
That's right. That game didn't happen, so to speak. It's kind of like Villanova having to vacate games back in the basketball tournaments. That's interesting. And who knows I guess he just didn't have his academics in order.
Well, I think it was just a weird move. I don't know the whole story, and they hired the Grayson coach, but the weird high school thing I was going to throw at you. My father's from Rockmart, Georgia. You know where Rockmart is? You know about Rockmart?
Kinda.
Up in northwest Georgia. Well, in the 50s, they had a little bit of a dynasty. They won. They're one of the only teams in Georgia history to be crowned national champions. 1950.
How about that?
They used to play. Do you remember they played the Peanut Bowl in Columbus? Have you ever heard of that?
I do not.
Well, a team from up north came down. They won. But anyway, and they were runners up 2 other times in the 50s. 57, my father was a 10th grader. They lost to Valdosta. But that was about the best run in school history. Well, they hired a coach about 10 years ago. Biff Parsons is his name. They won 9 region championships in a row, lost in the title game twice. He left this week. He's going to Hart County, who had like a losing season last year. I don't know what
the Prince Avenue.
That's right, yeah. That's right, I forgot about that. All right, in that 50s little dynasty Rockmart had, 1954, they lost in the finals in 55 to who?
Athens High won in 55, but I thought they beat Valdosta in the finals.
They beat Rockmart. And in 54, Rockmart beat Athens in the semis.
So that would have been Francis Tarkenton's both of those years.
But my question to you was, and I didn't research it deep enough, okay, Richmond Academy and Pat Dye won it in 56. So my question is, did Tarkenton win it his junior year? Because
he won it his junior year.
Because their senior year, they weren't very good. I looked at the thing; they lost.
Yeah, I think they were 4-6 or something like that. They didn't have a very good year his senior year. He had, when he was a junior, he had a running back named George Geisler on that Athens High team, and Wayman Sellers said he was the best running back he ever coached, and he made a tremendous difference. In fact, when they played in that state championship game, Tarkenton threw the ball one time. They just ran the ball to win the game. And Geisler came to Georgia and played some and actually made it to the NFL. But he was
I've heard his name.
He was a little bit. You had to handle him with tender touch and kid gloves, and he didn't get handled right. Well, of course, Wally Butts had a reputation for being a very tough disciplinarian.
Right.
And I'm not sure that he ever adjusted to that. And I don't ever know what happened to him. But Geisler was the guy who was the star of that team, and was toward the end of the season. I understand he was running for like 200 yards every game. And
I thought that whole, when I look back and research, I thought that whole series of, so Tarkenton, I guess, they went to the semis when he was a 10th grader, I guess.
Probably so.
And then won it as a junior, because I remember people in Rockmart talking about they beat Fran Tarkenton. It was in Rockmart that year, and in the game, his junior year when they won it was here, I guess.
Yeah.
But anyway.
Yeah.
Not many guys my age are interested in that kind of stuff. What happened in the 50s, are they? But
in my back of my mind, I wonder if I went to that state championship game in '55, I would have been 5 years old, just barely 5. And they played at Sanford Stadium. That's where they played their home games. And I remember going to a night home game at Sanford Stadium with a big crowd. And I always wondered if that was, I should have asked my dad when he was still alive, did we go to that game? I never did. That would have been.
Well, unless I totally missed it. It was they may have played Valdosta in the semis. And back then it was all different the way they did it.
And not as many high schools back then.
That's right. And I was shocked that
the population of Georgia back then was probably 2 million people or something.
But again, I was shocked that they were so bad, or the record was so bad in '56. And I thought I'd heard Coach Dye and Tarkenton talk about playing against each other in high school, but I don't think they ever did. But anyway.
Well, this is the time of year, of course, we're in the NFL playoffs. And I've seen some of the games. They've been pretty close games for the large part. I did not see the Patriots game. I'm on one of those cable carriers that's having a dispute with NBC, so NBC games I can't see. So if they get to the Super Bowl and that's not been resolved,
you got to come over that. Come over that.
To see the Super Bowl.
Well, this weekend we got Buffalo and Denver, and then Houston and New England in the AFC. In the NFC, we got the Rams and the Bears, and the Niners and the Seahawks. Right now, I know we don't talk a ton about the NFL. Who's your team?
Well, I'm pulling for Matt Stafford at Rams. I'd love to see him win another championship, but Seattle has really looked so good this year, and they look like a tough team. And then on the other side of the bracket, maybe this is the year that Josh Allen finally gets over the hump, but what's there waiting for him is a different New England quarterback and a different strong team that has not lost on the road this year.
Unbelievable.
All their losses were home. So they're home against Houston. Maybe that's bad luck for them. I don't know. This
is some good team. You look at how much parity they are in the NFL.
That's the nature of the NFL.
But these teams, I think these 8 teams have sort of, they're the right 8 teams, I think. I'm sort of cheering for Denver. I think we talked about a little bit. They got Bo Nix and Auburn guys are quarterback.
Yeah.
Who do you think is going to be the Falcons coach?
I have no idea who it's going to be. I have no idea at all. Matt Ryan, of course, I'm glad to see that they've got him now in a leadership position. I think that he's a savvy guy. This is a guy, when he came out of Boston College, I said, don't draft him in the first round. I just didn't think he was going to be that good. And boy, was I proven wrong. He was an all-pro quarterback, MVP, got to the Super Bowl. He was a great quarterback and a great ambassador for the NFL.
That's what I was about to say. You know, on the surface, he seemed like the perfect guy to have that job. So.
He and Matt Stafford, I understand, they used to play in a co-ed basketball league together with their wives.
Really?
Yeah, something like that. You know,
who was the baseball player that Stafford went to high school with?
Oh, that was the Dodgers pitcher.
Yeah, Kershaw.
Yeah, Clayton Kershaw.
Yeah.
They pitched together on the same baseball team.
I know.
Can you imagine playing a doubleheader with those guys?
I think Stafford played catcher when he wasn't pitching. I don't know if Kershaw did.
Could well have.
Yeah, I'd hate to have to meet him at a
Can
place.
you imagine the fastball that Stafford threw? I mean, he is, God gifted him
Oh,
with
God.
the all-time greatest arm.
That's right.
And,
I mean, if nothing else, I mean, you know, you
but
think.
he didn't let that just define him.
That's right.
He's a smart player, and he's a good teammate, and he's tough as nails.
I think he's having the time of his life right now.
Oh, I know he is.
Kind of like Brett Favre late in his career, just
Yeah.
out there doing his thing, you know.
You know, in the beginning of the season, we didn't even wonder if he's going to play. He's
Yeah.
always laid up with back injuries, and now he's come through and had another great season. So anyway,
Well,
so all right, Buffalo, Denver. You're pulling for Denver. I'm kind of hoping Josh Allen wins another game.
All right, I'm going to pick Denver, just heart, not a head
Yeah,
pick.
yeah. Houston, New England. I got to go with the Patriots.
I do too.
They just had a great year. I like C.J. Stroud as a quarterback. I mean, I thought when he came out of Ohio State, that guy's going to be a player, and I think he's lived up to that. All right, you got Rams against the Bears. Great season for the Bears. I mean, they've had a great year, but
Well, I think all these games, nothing would surprise me, but I almost want the Rams. I'm not a Georgia Bulldog, but I'm kind of cheering for the Rams. I think they'll win.
And in San Francisco, Seattle, again, Seattle's just played so well. But I like Brock Purdy. He's a great story. And,
He is.
And they got Christian McCaffrey. You know, he's a 5'2" football player, you'd say.
You know what? Magic Johnson would say the same thing about him. He said about Larry Bird. That's a bad white boy. I'm not.
Yeah.
You said you were talking about
McCaffrey.
McCaffrey. Yeah, McCaffrey. Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
That's right. That's what I'm talking about, Christian McCaffrey. So we'll see how all that shakes out. But we'll be back with at least one more edition of Sidelines and Headlines as we kind of wrap up the national championship game, Miami and Indiana. And as to whether we come back with a Super Bowl preview, we'll just have to wait and see and everything. But Jim, I've had a good time with this year. I hope our viewers and listeners have too, and we're making plans for next year and looking forward to it.
Appreciate everybody watching. And Sidelines, headlines at gmail.com.
That's right.
Our email.
Send us an email and like us and subscribe to us and give us some feedback, and we'd love to hear from you.
And by the way, we're at Brett's again tonight, and they've got the the Resolution Buster. It's a burger. I can't even name all the ingredients. Some things I've never even heard of.
Yeah. And by the way, if you look over my shoulder, back in the corner, right between us, is the world-renowned Barbara Dooley. Widow of Vince Dooley, and she's here visiting with good Sam Mitchell's widow as well with her. So
we had a nice chat before
Barbara's gotten heavily involved in the Derek Dooley Senate campaign, we understand.
Yeah, she told us a great story about that.
Well, listen, we're going to say good night for right now, and we'll be back in about a week or so with the wrap-up of the national championship game. So until then, y'all stay safe and keep it in the middle of the road.
Thanks for watching.
All right. Sayonara.